water has no memory. It does not know that this was a street teeming with life just yesterday, that this was a home filled with laughter and argument and the small comforts of a family, that this was a subway tunnel, a monument of modern engineering, once thought to be safe from the world above. In the last 48 hours in northern China, the modern world has been washed away by a force as old as the earth itself. And for millions, the only solid ground is the courage of a stranger. On July 26th and 27th, 2025, a storm of historic proportions unleashed itself on northern China. It was a weather system of almost unimaginable fury, a deluge that targeted the vast Hebei province, and, at its heart, the sprawling, iconic capital of Beijing. Hebei province, and, at its heart, the sprawling, iconic capital of Beijing. The numbers themselves are hard to comprehend. In Hebei's Fangshan County, local weather stations recorded over 540 millimeters of rain in just 8 hours. To put that in perspective, that is more than the entire annual average rainfall for the region. More rain than London sees in a year, falling in less than half a day. The sky broke, and with it, the systems designed to protect the 21 million people who call this area home. The highest level alerts, code red, flashed across phones and television screens, but they could barely keep pace with the reality on the ground. Infrastructure, from power grids to highways, buckled under the sheer weight of the water. The veneer of modernity, of a capital that prided itself on control and advanced engineering, was stripped away in mere hours, revealing a city and a nation, suddenly and terrifyingly vulnerable. This disaster, however, is not a single story. It is a tale of two floods, of two profoundly different experiences of the same catastrophe. To understand the first, you must look outside the gleaming towers of the capital, to the rural plains of Hebei province. Here, in towns like Baoding and Fangshan, entire villages were cut off, turned into isolated islands in a brown, churning sea. Roads simply ceased to exist. Homes were inundated. Rescue efforts were complicated by landslides as the saturated hillsides gave way, adding a new dimension of terror. And then, a quiet, agonizing choice was made. State media reported that multiple flood diversion zones were activated. These are rural, low-lying areas, designated years ago for a moment just like this. They are areas of farmland, homes, and communities, deliberately sacrificed. Levees were opened, and the flood waters were guided away from the major cities and toward these fields and villages. It is the cold, brutal calculus of disaster management, sacrificing the few to protect the many. Families who had farmed this land for generations watched as their livelihoods and histories were erased from the map to save a metropolis. In Hebei, officials confirmed 2 people had died and 2 more were missing. It's a stark reminder of the human price paid for these pragmatic, heartbreaking decisions. Meanwhile, a second, more visible drama was unfolding within Beijing itself. The chaos was absolute. The city's massive subway system, the artery of daily life, was hit. Water cascaded down stairwells, turning stations into underground lakes. The footage emerged of trapped passengers, standing in chest-deep, murky water, prying open emergency doors to escape into the flooded tunnels. Above ground, the streets had become rivers. Cars were submerged to their rooftops, many carried off by currents that were powerful enough to move trucks. In districts like Chaoyang and Dongchang, life ground to a halt. Hills were forced into emergency evacuations, with medical staff pushing wheelchairs and stretchers through knee-deep water in soaking rain. But in the midst of this terror, a different story began to emerge. It was written in the actions of ordinary people. Strangers formed human chains to pull neighbors from flooded apartments. Volunteers with pickup trucks and inflatable boats navigated the new waterways, searching for the stranded. We saw images that will not soon be forgotten. Mothers cradling their children on makeshift rafts made of styrofoam and scrap wood. Elderly residents, unable to walk, being carried to safety on the backs of young men they had never met. In the darkest moments, a different kind of light shone through, a testament to a collective spirit that refused to be broken. The immediate question is why? But the more important question is why. This was not a freak event. Meteorologists have confirmed it is part of a terrifying new pattern, a brutal feedback loop created by a changing climate. The East Asian Monsoon, a weather system that has governed life here for millennia, is becoming dangerously erratic. It is being supercharged by warming oceans, leading to sharper, more violent swings between punishing drought and catastrophic downpour. This storm came on the heels of a prolonged heatwave, a detail that is critically important. The baked-hard ground couldn't absorb the sudden deluge, turning rainfall into immediate, destructive runoff. Beijing has spent billions on so-called sponge city initiatives, urban planning designed to absorb and reuse rainwater. But the scale of this event overwhelmed it all. It proved that even the most ambitious engineering can be rendered useless when faced with climate-driven extremes that defy historical precedent. The failure of these systems is a sobering lesson for every major city on Earth. This wasn't even the first warning. The floods of 2023 were a stark precedent, a dress rehearsal for this much larger disaster. But now, with the water still standing in many areas, a secondary crisis is beginning. Public health agencies are issuing urgent advisories about the risk of waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery as floodwaters mix with sewage systems. The very element that fell from the sky now poses a new, invisible threat to the survivors. As the waters recede, they leave behind a landscape of ruin and a question that echoes across the globe. How do we prepare for a storm that is already here? This is not just Beijing's story. It is a glimpse into a future we all share. The images of this fragile giant, a global titan of commerce and culture, brought to its knees by rain, should serve as a warning for all of us. The story of this flood is one of broken infrastructure, of failed predictions, and of the terrifying power of a world out of balance. But it is also a story of resilience, of the courage of first responders, the solidarity of neighbors, and the unbreakable spirit of the people who survived, who are now beginning the long, arduous work of recovery in a city holding its breath.